Hello, Ignite community. Welcome to this video on a short, refreshing routine. So, I want to be honest. When I think about what poses to share with you for a refreshing routine, a routine that makes you feel refreshed, feel renewed, there's a lot of poses that come to mind for me. But one of the things that I notice as I'm thinking about it is that they are poses I particularly love. So, I think what I would say to you right off the bat is to create your own routine. Think about the poses that you absolutely love. And when the teacher does them in class, you get really excited. You're like, yes, I love that pose. Those would be poses that I would recommend you incorporate into your own routine. And again, this is going to be a short routine. I'm going to literally show you three poses that, again, I particularly like, that I feel refreshed and renewed after I do them. This is something that you could do first thing in the morning, before you go to bed at night, if you're having a particular part of your day where you're feeling really stressed or worked up about something, frustrated, any of those kind of yucky feelings that we just want to kind of help get rid of, a little bit down, depressed, whatever. These could be poses that help you kind of bounce back from that. So again, I'm just going to show you three simple routine poses that you could do. But again, you could add on to this with some of your own favorites, or you could completely do your own. The idea is it's simple, it's quick, it's something that makes you feel good and helps you again kind of bounce back, feel refreshed, feel renewed at whatever time is most appropriate for you to utilize it. So anytime we do any routine, I always highly recommend you start by just sitting to breathe, sitting to feel into the body, sitting to let go of whatever it is you might be carrying around from the day before, anticipation of things coming up in the days ahead, or the time, hours ahead, whatever it might be. We all have a tendency to carry things around, stresses, tensions, worries, frustrations. We tend to carry that with us and in our bodies. And the goal here is to, before we get into a yoga practice, just take a few minutes to find the breath. Let all that other stuff go and just breathe. Get grounded, get centered, and then go through a couple of routines. And this doesn't have to take very long. It can be as simple as just finding a seat somewhere, relaxing the arms, rolling the shoulders down, sitting up nice and tall, just like we do in class. Maybe taking a really nice, big, deep breath in through the nose and then sighing it out. It could be that simple, and that might be all you do. You may need a little more time than that. You might want to just sit and breathe. Take that deep breath in and sit and breathe and follow the breath in and out. Feel the breath right at the tip of the nostrils for a few moments. Right. You could also put your hand over your heart to help maybe calm the heartbeat, to feel the breath a little more deeply. You could have one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Sometimes those physical touch, that physical contact with the body, feeling the change in the rhythm of the heartbeat and the breath can really help to bring us down and help us to relax a little bit as well. So whatever works for you. For the purposes of this short video, I'm just going to do a nice deep breath in and sigh it out. And then I'm going to get right into the first pose. So if you're following along with me, find your seat, get those sits bones connected to the ground, relax your hands wherever is comfortable, elbows soft, nice and tall through the crown of the head, rolling the shoulders down away from the ears. And it's comfortable, close the eyes. Sometimes not looking at things also helps us to get grounded and centered. And then when you're ready, we'll take a nice big deep breath in, sighing it out when you're ready. And you can stay with those eyes closed for just another moment, feeling the breath return to normal, feeling the body in touch with the ground beneath you. And maybe if you're a visual person, you can even visualize all the stuff that you're thinking about, all the things you're holding on to, the stresses, tensions, and worries. You maybe even mentally see those, visualize seeing those kind of like melt off of the body, draining into the floor beneath you. We know they'll probably come back later, but you know what? For right now, we're just going to let them go and just stay with the breath. And one of the first poses I like to do to help refresh and renew myself is cat cow, seated cat cow. You can do that anywhere, an office chair, on your sofa, on the floor, wherever you are. You can always do that pose, and I find that invigorating in the sense that it really stretches my spine, my muscles down my back. It helps to loosen up my shoulders, my midsection. I focus on my breathing. So it's a really good pose for that. So we'll just let our hands rest here. And on the inhale, we're going to be pushing the chest forward, squeezing shoulder blades together and looking up at the sky for our cow pose. And then on the exhale, when you're ready, you're going to drop your chin towards your chest, round your back like an angry cat, and pull that belly button in toward the spine. And again, when you're ready to inhale, we'll come back into cow pose, open up, exhaling into cat, and we just go back and forth. There's no real limit to the number of times you can do this. Focus on the breath, take your time. Maybe you stay a little longer in one of the poses, especially that cat pose, to get a little stretch. Sometimes I'll wiggle my shoulders a little bit from side to side to add stretch to the back. Just take your time. It wakes up the back, it stretches it out, it helps get rid of some of the tightness and tension. I know I hold a lot of my tension and stress in my shoulders and upper back in particular, sometimes my low back too, if it's been a really stressful day. So I find this to be very helpful to help loosen things up. And we're just going to do one more. You can always pause the video and continue to do more if you'd like. We'll do one more of each, and then we'll bring that to stillness. Perfect. The next pose that I like to do for that feeling of refreshedness and renewedness is extended child's pose. I find it's a good stretch for my shoulders, my back, again, helps with the tension and stress in my back. It's good to stretch for the legs too, but it's also grounding because my forehead is coming to the ground. And I'll show you how you can use a block instead if your forehead doesn't quite reach the ground. But it's just a way to just connect and ground and breathe and just let them, again, let that stress kind of melt off of you. So we'll come into a wide-legged child's pose. So for that, we're going to actually, since I'm on my mat here, I'm going to take my knees out to the edges of my mat and let my toes touch behind me. I'm going to sit back toward my heels, and then I'm going to bring my chest down toward the floor. If for some reason you're not able to get your forehead all the way to the ground, you can use a block. So we walk the hands out here and use the block for the forehead. If you don't need the block and you're just going to let that forehead come down toward the ground. And again, as you're doing that, your chest is sort of drooping toward the ground. You're going to feel that stretch in your back and shoulders. You can always put something between your bottom and your heels if you need some support there. And this is one that you can stay here stationary the entire time. You can take a little walk with the arms over to the left to get a little side stretch in here. And then, of course, we would do that to the other side as well. And bring it back to center. And again, you can stay here for as long as you might like. It's a very grounding, very relaxing type pose. And for purposes of this video, we're just going to inhale and come out of that so that we can get into the next, trying to keep this video short. The final pose I want to show you is supine twist. So supine twist is one that I like. It kind of wrings the body out a little bit. So if you think about it in terms of how the body is moving, your knees are one direction, your shoulders are the other direction. So you've got this nice twist up the spine, and then the head is going a different direction. So it's a beautiful twisting or wringing out of the spine and of the back muscles. I really like doing this one at the end of the day to kind of, again, wring myself out from the day. I'm going to get rid of that stress, wring it out, get rid of it. This is one that if you're going to be in it for a little while, I do recommend you put a block between your knees. That keeps the hips kind of squared up. But if you're just going to do a few seconds, that's not necessary for the purposes of the video. Today, we're not going to do it for very long, so I'm not going to use that. But again, when we do it in yin class, where we're in it for 5 minutes, or if you're going to, maybe stay in it for 3 or so minutes to really relax into it at the end of the day or at the beginning of your day, I recommend something between the knees just to keep the hips square so you don't end up giving yourself any kind of hip or low back issues. All right. And if you already have hip or low back issues, then definitely use something between your knees. But let's come down on our backs. We're going to bend the knees, and we'll take the knees to the right first. So we're going to let those knees drop over to the right, and our shoulders stay connected to the ground. Arms are going to extend out from the shoulders in what we call a T formation to kind of help keep those shoulders anchored into the ground. I'm actually going to put that block between my knees because my left knee is not landing and resting on my right leg today. A little tight in my low back this morning. So as we relax here, your head choices, depending on what feels good to your neck, since my knees are to the right, my head's either going to look to the left, or if that's not comfortable for your neck, you can just look up at the ceiling as well. That's always an option. And just really try to surrender into the breath or let the body melt. Really feel that twisting and the settling of the body. And we're just going to take another breath or two here. Again, in an effort to keep this video short, we'll move over to the other side. But again, you could continue to do this for as long as you want. You could go from right to left and back and forth a few times as well. It's entirely up to you. Really, these kinds of practices, these kinds of routines are great for listening to your body. What feels good to the body today? Let's just do that, right? So let's inhale those knees back to center. Take a moment to untwist that spine and get everything squared up again. And then when you're ready, we'll take the knees over to the opposite side. Again, shoulders are going to stay anchored into the ground. And again, we can have our head looking over to the right this time or to the sky, whichever feels better. And just relax. When we do these kinds of poses, sometimes we're so focused on the parts of the body that are actively involved in the pose, we might be clenching our jaw or some other part of the body. So just sometimes it's nice to just take a little bit of time to scan the body as you're in the pose. Just notice if there's any parts of the body that you're kind of clenching muscles, squeezing muscles, and just try to let everything relax. You've got the floor underneath you supporting you, so you don't have to do any work. Just relax and breathe. And again, for the purposes of today's short tutorial video, we're going to wrap this up, but you could stay here longer if you wanted to. So with your next inhale, let's go ahead and bring those knees back to center. Untwist that spine. If you have a block in between the knees, you can go ahead and remove that. I always like, as a nice kind of counter stretch to supine twist, to just bring my hands to my knees and just rock a little bit from side to side. And then you can rock yourself back up, or you could even just take a shavasana. Allow yourself a little bit of time to do a shavasana at the end. If that's, or just come back to a seated position like we started in and just allow for a little bit of breathing, that sort of a thing. All depends on how you're feeling, all depends on your time of day and then how much time you'll have available to practice this. But just, again, take the time to listen to your body. Focus on those poses that bring you the most joy, the most relaxation, the ones that you enjoy the most. I shared my three favorites for this kind of a practice, but you certainly can take this and morph it into something that really works well for you. So I hope this short video serves you. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Namaste.